Well, listeners, welcome back to Subculture on centralcoastradio.com. Right now, we've got something very special on the show for you because Xani has a brand new single coming out called Road Trip, which we're going to play in just a moment. And she's also got a brand new album coming out on the 30th of March. And she also recently won a Best Musician Award at the Victorian Music Awards. So we thought we would get her on the phone today to talk about everything that's been going on in her world at the moment. Welcome to the program, Xani.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on.
Not a problem. Now, we are so excited that we're about to play your brand new single, Road Trip, but there's been so much going on in your life over the last 12 months. Let's start with the Best Musician Award win. Tell us a little bit about that and how that came about.
Well, I mean, I know everyone says we don't do these things in music and in the arts for awards, but it was very exciting. I have been, playing in the industry for over 10 years and I have never received a trophy for anything. So when I got news that I was a finalist for the Best Musician category, I was, pretty excited because I'd been doing a lot of work in the last few years of really honing my own craft on violin and in songwriting and in singing. So to make it to the finalist category was pretty special. And, so then when I got the call to let me know that I had won, it really did open some more doors for me, but also just gave me a little bit of a boost of confidence that I really needed at that moment.
Yeah, someone said the other night at an award ceremony that I was at that we don't do it for awards, but it's nice to have that recognition sometimes that our art is being noticed, and I thought that is so true when it comes to awards.
Absolutely, yeah. It's because, there's so many other deserving people, in each category all the time. So it's just more like a bit of a reflection that you're on the right path at that point in time. So I was really grateful that my time had come to just have a little boost to my confidence and to my career moving forward.
Now, tell us a little bit about this brand new single, Road Trip, because I believe this song was born from a very, very interesting way, and that was some recommendations and improvisation during a live stream. Tell us a little bit about Road Trip and how it came into being.
Yeah, sure. So, I don't know, did you experience much of the lockdowns where you are? Did you go into some deep, dark lockdowns?
Yep.
Yeah. So, down here in Melbourne, it was pretty much like a 9-month lockdown, kind of that second one. And so in order to stay connected to my audience and so that I could play all the time because I wasn't able to go and play gigs, I started live streaming on Twitch, and I did it twice a week for 9 months. And it was a great experience because I got to connect with people all over the world going through similar things, and it also meant that I got to make up a whole bunch of different music. So because I was doing it weekly, I couldn't just play the same songs over and over again, so I had to come up with new themes, kind of like a radio show, I guess.
Yep.
And so I would pick like a different theme each week and improvise songs, and I'd ask the audience to jump in the chat and give me lyrics to make a song up with. So Road Trip started out after I'd been listening to some craft work and some UK garage, all subgenres of electronic dance music, and then one audience member typed in Road Trip, and so I created a little song about going on a road trip, and that's how it was born, and it has since undergone lots of edits and changes. But I've still got all those those live streams. I recorded them all, so it's nice to go back and see how a song really was born and how it's evolved.
Definitely, yeah. I'm in Melbourne as well, so I experienced those lockdowns.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, doing a radio show from home for 2 years was a very, very different experience. So,
yeah.
But tell us a little bit about that improvisation. Like, that's very different because a lot of songwriters will talk about writing about things that they've experienced or that they're going through in life. What's that like, writing a track from improvisation?
Well, I think that the way I look at it is there's kind of a couple things going on because it's in real time and you're performing. So there's an element of, okay, I can't really go exploring too deeply how I would usually when I'm songwriting, because there's an audience involved, so I have to come up with things very quickly, and the things that you come up like the quickest are usually not your best work, right? So I knew that going into it, and then there's also the matter of retaining memory of the melodies that you put down in a verse versus put down in a chorus. So I had a lot of memory things having to function while I was doing it too, and then also making up all the music and melodies. Then I had to put the lyrics too. So my process was I would set up some loops with like rhythm and melody happening, and then while I was just having a little solo over the top of some of these loops with the violin, I would start humming to myself a melody, and then using the words that people had prompted, I then went into an experience that I had already had and tried to find a memory that fit with those prompts, or I would invent one. So in the case of Road Trip, I was thinking about feminism at the time, and I was like, you know what, go on a road trip and go without your partner. Just go on that road trip by yourself, and that was the kind of catalyst for that little song.
Awesome. Now you have your brand new album coming out as well on the 30th of March called An Inaccurate History of Electronic Dance Music. I understand with this album you worked with a number of different producers as well. Tell us a little bit about that experience and why you chose to work with a number of different producers rather than just a couple.
So because in 2020 during the lockdowns here, I put out my debut album, which I worked on entirely by myself, and it was it was an awesome experience, and I really enjoyed it, but it was also quite isolating because I was doing everything myself. I was recording it myself, producing it myself, doing all the songwriting, and a lot of the music created on the album is just violin. And so when it came to doing these experiments, these improvised experiments, I was really relying on the audience to participate in the songwriting process, and I loved that collaborative thing. So when I was working on how I was going to put these songs into an album, I really wanted to make it as collaborative as possible, not only for myself to engage with people again in their own recording studio environments, but also to make sure that I was paying a lot of different artists in Melbourne and Australia, so that I was generating income for those artists who hadn't had it during the lockdown, and also to learn a whole bunch of new things that I could take with me and put into my own production in the future when I go back to working just either by myself or with only one or two different producers. So yeah, I wanted to really expand to as many different collaborative environments as I could, because I was starved of it for so long.
Yeah. That's amazing. I love the fact that you went and did that, and I guess it also brings like a different life and a different sound to each track as well.
Totally, and I think the reason that works for this album, because this album it's a concept album, so it's each chapter of the album is inspired by a different subgenre of electronic dance music. So by nature, each chapter of this album sound is from a different sound world anyway. So the idea is that you go through the album and you feel like you're catapulted from one, era or one environment or one subculture of EDM to the next. It's never meant to be like a real smooth sailing journey.
That's awesome. I cannot wait to hear the whole album. I've fallen in love with this brand new single that we're about to play in a moment. And before we get to that though, what have you got planned for the rest of this year? Are you hoping to get out there and do some shows off the back of the album as well?
Yes, so I've just finished, because I'm a self-managed artist, so I book my own tours and shows, and I've just literally today finished booking my album launch tour, so that will include about 9 dates. That'll be around South Australia and East Coast, so I'll be embarking on that throughout May. So that's coming up, and then I've got some other projects with other art forms. So I do a bit of music in theatre Yeah, that kind of thing. So there's a few other projects up ahead, and then later in the year I've got another kind of more experimental sound art project where I'll be looking at surround sound. So lots of interesting things on the horizon, but first kicking off with finally getting this album out into the world. It's going to be pressed on vinyl, and I'm going to be taking it around to as many places as I can.
Awesome. Well, we cannot wait to be able to see those live shows as well. But right now on the show, we are going to play the brand new single Road Trip. So I was wondering, is there anything you would like to say to our listeners out there before they take a listen to this amazing track?
Oh, well, thanks. I will just say that I wrote this one once I got to the editing process for my mum, and I just want to say to any mums out there, you're all heroes, and you know, you've done a lot for your kids and your spouses and partners and parents, so go on your road trip if you can. Go and take yourself somewhere you've always wanted to go. I believe in you.
Definitely. Well, Xani, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today. It's been an honour having you on the show, and for all of our listeners out there right now, here is Road Trip.